Hey students, in this video we're going to look at how to simplify algebraic expressions by combining like terms. And just a reminder that as you come across questions while you're watching the video, you do want to write those down. That way when you see me the next time in class, you can ask those. And I would like for everyone to try to write down at least one question. It can be as basic or as advanced as you like. Just so you get in the habit of writing down the questions and really thinking about some of the things that you come across in this video. Okay, because these videos are going to be very basic, very short, and so it's very common for you to have some questions you want me to answer the next time you see me in class. So let's go ahead and talk about, first of all, what like terms look like, and then also what unlike terms look like. So like terms are basically just algebraic expressions that have the same exact variable. So for instance, if you had x and 4x, those would be examples of like terms, okay, because they both have an x with them. The numbers in front of the x can be different. So for instance, an x means the same as a 1x, but the point is the variable is exactly the same, and so those are both like terms. An example of unlike terms would be something like negative 2y and negative 4z. Okay, so for these two terms right here, this one has a y, this one has a z. Those are different variables, and so those are unlike terms. Another example of like terms, you could have two terms that both have a variable with an exponent. So in this case, this is negative 3x to the fifth. And if we had 4x to the fifth as well, those two would also be like terms. They both have an x, and that x has an exponent of 5 on both terms. Another example of unlike terms would be 2x to the fourth and 3x squared. So even though both of these terms have an x, this first one has an exponent of 4, this second one has an exponent of 2. So those are unlike terms. And then a couple of more examples. 5x squared y, this means 5 times x squared times y. That would be a like term along with 2x squared y. Okay, so for these two, they both have an x squared in them, and they both have a y in them as well. Another example of unlike terms would be something like 5p n squared and 5p squared n. And for these, it's a little bit tricky. They both have a p in them, but they both have an n in them. But for this first one, the n has an exponent of 2, and the p does not. Whereas in the second one, the p has an exponent of 2, and the n does not. So these are actually different terms, because on this one, the exponent is in a different place than with the second term. And so what we're going to do with this is we're going to learn how to simplify expressions by what's called combining like terms. In algebra, whenever you have two terms that have the same exact variable, so like terms, you're actually allowed to combine those together. Whenever you have unlike terms, you have to leave those separate. So we're going to learn how to work with our like terms and our unlike terms to condense, to squeeze down some really complicated looking expressions. Okay, so let's look at the first example on your note sheet. You've got 4x squared plus 3x minus 9 minus 2x squared plus 5x plus 14 minus 6x. This entire long strand of numbers, variables, exponents, operation symbols, this is what we call an algebraic expression, and our job in this video is going to be just to learn how to simplify these, okay, to really shorten those so they look a little bit less complicated. And we're going to do that by identifying what our like terms are. So I'm going to start with this 4x squared. Okay, so 4x squared, in order to combine it with anything else in this expression, we need to find other terms that also have an x squared in them. So let's go ahead and take a look. We have a negative 2x squared, so I'm going to go ahead and circle that. And that's the only other term that has an x squared in it. Okay, so I'm going to say that when I combine these, I've got a 4x squared minus 2x squared. Well, 4 minus 2 is 2, so really I'm left with 2x squared. So I combine my coefficients by taking 4 minus 2. I'm going to leave my variable and my exponent alone. Okay, I leave that as x squared. And now I'm done with my x squared term. So now I'm going to jump to my next term, which is a positive 3x. And I'm going to circle any term that also has a x in it. So we have a positive 5x over here, and we have a negative 6x over here. So if you take 3 plus 5, that gives us 8x. And then we have a minus 6, that's going to leave us with positive 2x. 3x plus 5x minus 6x plus 2x. Okay, and then lastly, we have a negative 9 that we haven't done anything with yet, and a positive 14. These are also like terms because neither of them have a variable. They're just numbers or constants. So if I take a negative 9 plus 14, that gives me positive 5. And so once I get to this point and I have no more like terms in my expression, I have a 2x squared plus 2x plus 5. Those are all unlike terms. I'm done. I can't do anything else. Okay, I can't add this 2 and this 2 and this 5 because none of these are like, and so we go ahead and we say that this is our answer. This is our simplified expression from what we were originally given. Okay, let's look at the next example and try that one together as well. So for this one, we've got negative 7x squared y minus 5xy squared minus 9x squared y minus 2xy squared minus 8 plus 5xy plus 14. So again, we're going to start with the first term and we're going to go through and just circle any of our like terms. So we're looking for x squared y's in this next example here, x squared y's. This next term is an xy squared, so we can't use that. But my third term has an x squared y, so we'll go ahead and circle that. The next term is xy squared, so that doesn't do us any good. And then the rest of these terms, minus 8 plus 5xy plus 14, none of them have an x squared y in them either. So I'm just going to combine this negative 7 with this negative 9, and that gives us a negative 16 x squared y. And now we'll do the same thing with our next term, which is negative 5xy squared. We already have an xy squared over here, so I'm going to circle the negative 2xy squared. And none of these last three match, so these are the only two I can combine here. Negative 5 minus 2 is going to give me negative 7xy squared. Then we'll go to our negative 8. We have a negative 8, and then over here we have a positive 14 that we can combine together. Negative 8 plus 14 is going to give us a positive 6. And then lastly, we are left with a plus 5xy. That's the only term left, so we can't combine it with anything else. We're just going to go ahead and bring that down. So we're going to have a plus 5xy at the end of our expression. And so this is going to be our simplified answer. Negative 16x squared y minus 7xy squared plus 6 plus 5xy. Okay, you've got a couple more examples that are called on your own examples. And so what I want you to do with these is I want you to go ahead and just pause the video for me. I want you to try both 3 and 4 here on your own. And then once you've done both of those, I want you to click play and go ahead and check your answers and see how you did on your own. So go ahead and try these, okay? Pause the video and then click play to check your answers, please. Okay, let's go ahead and look at what you got. So for number 3, you should have come up with 13x cubed minus 11x squared plus 13x minus 14. And you can see again, just based on my colors here, how I, hopefully you can see how I got each of those terms there. So again, if you missed this third one here, that'd be a good idea to write down a question about that third one and make sure you ask me the next time you see me in class. And then number 4 here, this one, again, you just have to pay attention to which terms have the like variables. So you have an nx here and nx here. So you had a 7nx minus 3nx, that gives you 4nx. And then we have a minus 8p plus 10x. So again, I do want you to try to write down, based on those 4 examples that we did, at least one question. You can do more if you want about this topic. And I will see you next time in class.